Welcome to BBC News. Now, in an exclusive interview with BBC News, Prince Harry has said he is devastated about losing his latest legal challenge over the security he received.
The black sedan stops at the side entrance of Buckingham Palace at 6:47 inches in the morning, and Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, is already inside the building before the engine goes quiet. She does not wait for the door to be opened for her. She never has. Her heels strike the polished floor in a steady rhythm, and an aide half her age struggles to keep pace, a leather folder pressed against his chest like a shield. The folder is thin. What is inside it is not. She walks past two staff members who stop talking the moment they see her. That is the first sign that something is wrong. Silence follows her down the corridor like a draft of cold air, and Anne notices it the way a hunter notices a snapped twig in a quiet wood. By 7 o'clock, she is seated at a long table in a room without windows, and across from her sits a communications advisor whose hands will not stay still. He slides a single printed page toward her. She reads it once, she reads it again. Then she sets it face down on the table and looks at him with the flat, patient expression that has unsettled prime ministers and palace veterans for 40 years. "Everyone is asking about the recordings," he says quietly. "Then everyone is asking the wrong question," she answers. Hi, viewers. Before we go any deeper into this story, tell me honestly in the comments. If you had to protect a secret for 50 years, do you think you could keep it? Type yes or no below, because what Princess Anne is about to uncover will make you question how well anyone can hide anything inside the most watched family on Earth. According to reports circulating in the British press, a series of so-called recordings has been quietly passing through media commentary spaces for weeks, and the public has decided, almost unanimously, that the story is about audio, about voices, about something captured that was never meant to be heard. But this is the wrong reading, and Anne knows it before anyone else in the room does. The recordings are not the story, they are the smoke, and smoke, she understands, is only ever interesting because of what is burning beneath it. The real story is perception, the slow, invisible machinery that decides how a monarchy is seen, trusted, feared, or forgiven. King Charles III sits at the head of that machinery now, a transition monarch managing a modern institution that bruises more easily than it ever has before. He is defending the present. Every public appearance, every carefully chosen word, every photograph is a move designed to hold steady ground that keeps shifting beneath his feet. Beside him, Queen Camilla occupies a position that looks settled on the surface and remains contested everywhere else. Publicly, she is stabilized. Officially, she is queen. But in the commentary culture that now surrounds the royal family, in the endless churn of opinion and memory, her position is anything but quiet. There is a wound the institution has never fully closed, and her name still sits close to its edge. That wound has a name too. Diana, Princess of Wales. Gone for decades, yet somehow still the loudest voice in any room she has mentioned it. Anne has watched it happen again and again. The way Diana's memory surfaces in coverage that has nothing to do with her, the way the public reaches for her like a reflex. Diana is the variable no strategy can fully account for. The piece that left the board long ago and still controls how every other piece is allowed to move. The advisor clears his throat. "There's been an internal review," he says. "It flagged something unexpected." Anne lifts an eyebrow. "That is all." "Reputational linkage," he continues, "involving the Queen's private family circle." For the first time, Anne goes very still. Not alarmed, focused, the way a chess player goes still when the board suddenly reveals a threat that was always there, just unseen. "Whose name?" she asks. He hesitates, and in that hesitation, Anne already knows the answer is going to cost the family something. She reaches for the page she turned face down and turns it back over. Then, in a voice so calm it makes the room colder, she gives her first instruction of the morning. "Bring me a full timeline," she says. "Every reference to Laura Lopes in the media, from the beginning." The advisor blinks. "All of it?" "All of it." The request travels through the palace by mid-morning, and by noon something strange has happened. Nothing. No statement, no briefing, no quiet word to a trusted journalist. Buckingham Palace says absolutely nothing, and Anne watches that nothing settle over the institution like fresh snow over a field. Most people would call it caution. Anne knows better. Silence inside the palace is never empty. It is a tool, sharpened and aimed, and she has watched it used for half a century. When the monarchy says nothing, it is not because there is nothing to say. It is because someone has decided that saying anything would cost more than staying quiet. She stands at a tall window in a quiet office and watches a gardener trim a hedge with mechanical patience. Behind her, a younger member of the communications team waits with a tablet, unsure whether to speak. "They want to wait it out," the aide finally says. "Let it fade." "It won't fade," Anne replies without turning. "It's already spreading somewhere we can't see." She turns from the window. The discipline in her movements is a deliberate contrast to the chaos outside these walls, where every rumor multiplies and every silence is read as guilt. Modern media does not wait for facts.
All sorts of things start to happen. For instance, you have so much pain inside yourself that you try and hurt yourself on the outside because you want help, but it's the wrong help you're asking for. People see it as crying wolf or attention seeking, and they think because you're in the media all the time, you've got enough attention, inverted commas. But I was actually crying out because I wanted to get better.
It fills empty space with theories, and the palace has handed it a great deal of empty space. Somewhere in the building, William, Prince of Wales, is doing exactly what Anne expected him to be doing. Not reacting. Calculating. According to reports circulating in the British press, the heir has become increasingly active behind institutional decisions, quietly shaping how the family responds to pressure long before that response ever reaches the public. He does not seek the spotlight in these moments. He works in the space just outside it, and Anne respects that more than she would ever say aloud. And there is Catherine, Princess of Wales, the steadiest public face the family has. When the institution needs trust, it sends her a walkabout, a school visit, a photograph that reminds the country the monarchy is not only history but a living family. She is the calm surface stretched over deep water, and the public loves her for it. But surfaces, Anne thinks, are only as strong as what holds them up. By late afternoon, a briefing paper crosses Anne's desk. She reads the first line twice. It notes, in the careful language these documents always use, a Diana reference recurrence pattern increasing. The phrasing is bureaucratic. The meaning is not. Diana's name is appearing more often, in more places, attached to more stories that should have nothing to do with her. Anne sets the paper down slowly. She has seen patterns before. Patterns are never accidents. Something, or someone, is pulling Diana back into the conversation, and the conversation keeps bending toward her like water finding the lowest ground. She picks up a pen, then sets it down again. The question forming in her mind is not one she wants to ask out loud, because asking it makes it real. Why does Diana keep surfacing in coverage she has no part in? The room is quiet. The aide has gone. Anne stands alone with a single sheet of paper and a question that, once asked, cannot be unasked. She looks again at the line about recurrence, and a colder thought arrives beneath the first one. Patterns do not just appear, they are built. And if someone is building this one on purpose, then the recordings everyone is chasing were never the danger at all. A photograph appears in a tabloid the next morning, and within hours it has been shared tens of thousands of times. It is not scandalous. It is ordinary. A woman walking out of a London building, sunglasses on, coat buttoned, head slightly down. The caption is, "What does the damage?" It places her name beside Diana's, and the internet does the rest. The woman is Laura Lopes, Camilla's daughter from her first marriage, a private citizen. No royal title, no official role, no working position inside the monarchy. She runs an art consultancy, raises a family, and has spent her entire adult life staying out of the very spotlight that has just found her. Anne reads the caption 3 times and feels something tighten in her jaw. This is the danger she has been tracing for 2 days, finally made visible. A woman who has never asked for any of this, suddenly placed at the center of a story she has no part in. The problem is structural, and Anne understands it better than the people writing the headlines. Public discourse does not respect the line between royal and private. It absorbs anyone close enough to the family and treats them as fair game, folding private people into royal narratives whether they belong there or not. Laura sits outside the hierarchy but inside the family story, and that combination makes her exactly the kind of pressure point hostile commentary loves to find. There is a phrase Anne keeps turning over in her mind. Symbolic inheritance pressure. Laura inherits nothing official. No crown, no duty, no constitutional weight. What she inherits is association. She is connected, by blood and by marriage, to a woman the public still measures against a ghost. Camilla's place in the family was earned over decades of patient public effort, and yet the comparison never fully dawns. Diana is still the standard. Diana is still the wound. According to reports circulating in the British press,
I wouldn't have said so, no. Not really. But no, I don't get the feeling that she's one.
A media analyst has begun connecting Laura's name to something described as legacy perception mapping, a phrase that sounds clinical and means something close to ruthless. It means someone is studying how a private woman's name can be used to reopen an old fracture. It means Laura is no longer being seen as a person. She is being used as a symbol. Anne walks the length of her office, hands clasped behind her back, working the problem the way she works everything, by stripping away emotion until only structure remains. The story is not about Laura at all. Laura is the entry point. The real target is the comparison itself, the endless contest between the woman Charles chose and the woman the public never stopped grieving. She stops at the window. The pattern she traced yesterday has sharpened overnight, and now she can see its shape. Every time Laura's name appears, Diana's appears beside it. Every time the comparison resurfaces, it draws fresh emotion from a public that has never let go. Diana is being used as a benchmark again, an emotional measuring stick held up against a family that cannot win the comparison because the comparison was never meant to be won. Anne presses 2 fingers to the cold glass. The recordings, the silence, the photograph, the name. They are not separate events, they are moves. And someone, somewhere, is making them in a sequence she is only now beginning to read. The question is no longer what happened. The question is who benefits when a private woman becomes a weapon. And Anne is starting to suspect the answer leads somewhere no one in this palace wants to look. The phrase, unverified online claims, appears in an internal memo. And Anne notices immediately that the palace is no longer worried about what the recordings contain. It is worried that people believe they exist at all. This is the turn she has been waiting for. According to reports circulating in the British press, no recording has ever been confirmed, authenticated, or even clearly described. There is only the rumor of audio, passed between commentary spaces and amplified by people who have never heard a second of it. And yet the rumor alone has triggered an institutional reaction that real evidence rarely produces. The palace is not defending against content. It is defending against a feeling. Anne understands the difference, and the difference is everything. A confirmed recording can be addressed, contextualized, survived. A rumor of one cannot. It lives in the imagination, and the imagination is the one room no communications team has ever been able to control. King Charles III's communications operation feels the pressure now from several directions at once. There is the recordings rumor. There is the Laura Association. And in the background, never fully gone, there is the ongoing public scrutiny surrounding Prince Andrew, Duke of York, whose well-documented controversies continue to sit on the institution like a weight that cannot be set down. Anne does not connect these threads because they are related. She connects them because the public does, and the public's connections are the only ones that matter to perception. A strategy memo crosses her desk that afternoon, and one phrase in it makes her stop cold. Multi-front reputational overlap. It is the kind of language that sounds harmless until you understand what it describes. It means the family is now exposed on several stories at once, and that each story makes the others harder to manage. Pull attention to one, and the others bleed through. There is no clean front. There is only overlap. Anne sits with the memo for a long moment. She has spent her life inside an institution that survives by managing one crisis at a time, addressing each, absorbing it, moving on. What the memo describes is something the old methods were never built for. Several pressures, arriving together, feeding one another. A storm with no single eye to wait out. She thinks about how the public mind works now. It does not file these stories separately. It blends them into a single impression. A vague but powerful sense that something is wrong inside the family, even when no single fact supports it. That impression is more dangerous than any recording could ever be, because it cannot be fact-checked. It can only be felt, and then the deeper pattern surfaces, the one Anne has been circling since the first morning. These are not separate stories at all. The recordings, Laura, Diana, the question of succession, they are converging, bending toward a single point. Camilla's contested place, Diana's permanent shadow, and the future of the crown itself are being pulled into the same narrative current, and the current is getting stronger. Anne closes the folder. Her expression does not change, but something behind her eyes has shifted. She has stopped looking at the individual moves. She is looking at the shape they make together.
Lied and used fake documents to obtain the interview with my mother. Made lurid and false claims about the royal family, which played on her fears and fueled paranoia.
And the shape frightens her because it suggests this was never about exposing a secret. It was about reopening a wound at the exact moment the family can least afford to bleed. The only question left is who chose this moment, and why now? A private advisory document lands on Anne's desk marked for limited circulation, and the first thing she notices is that it does not mention the present at all. It is about the future. Specifically, it models what the public conversation will look like in the years after Charles, when the crown passes to the next generation. She reads it slowly. According to reports circulating in the British press, advisors close to the institution have begun thinking seriously about the transition to come, and the documents that result are unlike anything the monarchy produced a generation ago. They do not ask how to survive today's headline. They ask how today's headline will be remembered when William, Prince of Wales, becomes king. This is the shift Anne has been trying to make the rest of the family understand. A present scandal is not just a present problem. It is a deposit into the future, a memory that will be carried forward and reinterpreted the moment the crown changes hands. Every story written about Camilla now becomes part of the inheritance William receives later. Future kingship changes the meaning of present events, and very few people in the building think that far ahead. Anne always has. William sits at the center of the document, exactly as Anne expected. He is the future filter, the lens through which all of this will eventually be judged. And attached to him, permanently, emotionally, is Diana. Her legacy lives in her son more than anywhere else, and the public knows it. When they look at William, they see her. When they imagine his reign, they imagine it as the continuation of something she began and never finished. Beside him stands Catherine, Princess of Wales. The continuity anchor the institution leans on more heavily each year. Her public trust is not decoration, it is structural. In a family where so much is contested, she is one of the few figures the public agrees on, and that agreement is worth more than any title. The document treats her steadiness as an asset to be protected, almost as carefully as the crown itself. But it is Anne's own reading that cuts deepest. The monarchy, she has come to believe, is no longer only about legacy. It is about future-proofing perception. Holding ground today is not enough. The family must protect how it will be seen decades from now, because the public no longer forgets and no longer waits. Every choice is a move in a game that does not end when one monarch does. It carries forward, square by square, reign by reign. The advisory group has done something Anne finds both impressive and unsettling. They have simulated it, a model of the public conversation in a post-Charles environment, built to predict how emotion will move once the crown passes. She turns to the results, expecting variables, projections, a range of outcomes. What she finds is one result, repeated in every version of the model. No matter how the scenario is adjusted, no matter which factors are changed, one influence keeps dominating the public's emotional response. Not the new king, not the queen consort, not the policies or the ceremonies or the careful messaging. Diana, decades gone, never replaced, and still the strongest force in every projection of the future. Anne sets the document down with a slowness that betrays just how much the result disturbs her. The family has spent years preparing William to carry the crown forward, but the simulation says something no preparation can fix. The future does not belong only to the living. It still answers to a woman who left the board long ago, and whose shadow stretches further than anyone planned for. And if that is true, Anne realizes, then the most dangerous move on this board has not been made yet. Anne spreads 3 documents across the table at once, and for the first time she does not read them one at a time. She lays them side by side, steps back, and looks at all of them together the way a general looks at a map instead of a single road. The recordings memo, the Laura timeline, the succession simulation, 3 separate problems on 3 separate pages. Except they are not 3 problems, they are 1. She sees it now. The whole board, visible at last. This is the moment everything she has been tracing stops being a collection of incidents and becomes a single design. Not a plot in the cheap sense. Something colder and more honest. A structure. The recordings were never the threat. Laura was never the target. Even Diana, in this reading, is not the wound being reopened. She is the gravity that bends everything else toward her, and someone has learned to use that gravity on purpose. From a public relations standpoint, Anne understands the move with a clarity that almost frightens her. You do not attack a monarchy directly anymore. You do not need to. You simply place the right names near each other and let the public's memory do the work. Put Laura beside Diana. Put Diana beside Camilla. Put Camilla beside the question of who comes next, and the audience builds the scandal for you, free of charge, in their own minds. The issue, she realizes, was never Camilla against Diana. That framing is too small. The real issue is the architecture of perception itself, the invisible system that decides which emotions the public reaches for when a royal name appears.
Her legacy, of course, is mainly rests in the shaping of her sons.
What would she make of the fact that they had this falling out?
I think that were she still with us, there would have been no split between her.
Anne has spent her life believing the monarchy was defended by duty, discretion, and patience. She is beginning to suspect it is now defended, or destroyed, by something far less controllable: the order in which names are spoken. Royal biographers have long debated whether Diana's influence would fade with time, whether each passing year would loosen her hold on the public imagination. The opposite has happened. Her absence has become a kind of presence, a permanent reference point that every new story is measured against. Anne calls it, privately, the Diana variable, the one factor no communication strategy can remove, because it does not live in the palace. It lives in the public's heart, and the heart does not take instructions. Every decision the family makes now passes through that variable. A photograph, a statement, a silence, a name and a caption. Each one is read not on its own terms, but against a memory the institution cannot edit. Anne sees advisors trying to manage the present as if the past were finished business. It is not. The past is the most active player on the board, and it never sleeps. A communications advisor knocks and enters, and his face tells her something before he speaks. He has been running an analysis of public discourse, mapping where the emotional reactions cluster, where they spike, where they go quiet. He sets a printout in front of her and points to a section highlighted in red. "We found something," he says. "Trigger notes." Points in the conversation where emotion becomes impossible to control. Anne studies the page. The red marks cluster around exactly the connections she traced. Diana, the comparison, the succession question, the places where memory burns hottest. "There's more," the advisor adds quietly. "One node stands out. It's not Diana, it's not the Queen." Anne already knows. She has known since the first morning, since the first instruction she gave. But she lets him say it, because saying it makes it real, and real is what she needs now. "Laura Lopes," he says. A non-royal name, and it's amplifying everything around it. Anne sets the page down. A private woman, with no title and no role, has somehow become the loudest amplifier on the board. And the question that rises in Anne's mind is not how, it is what happens when whoever built this board decides to use that amplifier on purpose. The correction comes too late, and Anne watches it fail in real time. A quiet clarification goes out through a trusted channel, stating plainly that there is no hidden lineage, no secret biological link, no buried family claim connecting Laura Lopes to Diana, Princess of Wales. It is true. It is also useless. The internet has already decided what it wants to believe, and a correction never travels as fast as the rumor it chases. This is the part that hollows Anne out. There was never a real connection to begin with. No DNA, no paternity, no concealed birth certificate hidden in some lawyer's vault. The Diana connection everyone is repeating is not a fact that was discovered. It is a story that was built, assembled out of nothing more than proximity and suggestion by commentary cycles that profit from the building. She has watched modern media do this before, but never this cleanly. It takes two unrelated figures, places them in the same sentence often enough, and manufactures a link that exists only in the audience's imagination. No lie is ever told outright. That is the elegance of it. You simply ask the question enough times, and the public answers it for you. Is there a connection? The question itself becomes the connection. While the palace officially denies these claims, experts point out that denial may be the worst available move. Every denial repeats the accusation. Every clarification gives the rumor another day of life. The institution is trapped in a loop where silence looks like guilt and speech looks like panic, and there is no third door. Anne has seen many traps in her years inside this family. This one has no obvious way out. Camilla's position absorbs the damage, as it always does.
And they didn't think that maybe she was exactly the sort of woman that Prince Charles needed because they didn't really know him.
Her public role is stable, her title secure, her decades of patient work behind her, and still the emotional resistance never fully fades. The public accepted her with their minds long ago. Their hearts kept a reservation, And that reservation is exactly the gap these stories are built to widen. Laura, through no fault of her own, has become the lever pressed into that gap. According to reports circulating in the British press, a press analysis has mapped sudden spikes in Diana-related engagement, sharp surges in attention and emotion that line up almost perfectly with the moments Laura's name entered circulation. The timing is too clean to be coincidence. Someone is not just watching these spikes, someone is producing them, testing how much emotion a single name can pull from a public that never stopped grieving. And then there is William, Prince of Wales, who has been quiet through all of this, watching the same data Anne watches. What he sees changes something in him. He sees how fast a story with no truth in it can grow. He sees how quickly an invented connection can harden into accepted fact. And he understands, perhaps for the first time with full force, that the optics of his future reign are being shaped right now by stories he did not write and cannot stop. He is learning the lesson Anne learned long ago, the one that costs the most. A future king does not inherit only a crown. He inherits every story told about his family before he wears it, true or false, fair or cruel, and the speed at which those stories now move means the ground beneath his reign is being rewritten before he ever sets foot on it. Anne sees the recognition settle over him, and she does not comfort. There is no comfort to give. There is only the board, and the pieces, and the dawning understanding that the most dangerous move was never aimed at the present at all. It was aimed at the reign that has not yet begun. Anne stops reacting. And that is the most dangerous thing she does all week. She gathers the papers, the analyses, the simulations, and instead of answering any single one, she requests something no one expected. A full internal review of what she calls narrative contamination points. Not the stories themselves, the places where the stories leak into one another. Her logic is not emotional. It never is. Anne is not trying to defend Camilla's feelings or protect Laura's privacy, though she values both. She is trying to find the structural weaknesses in how the family's story holds together, the seams where one rumor bleeds into the next and turns three small fires into one large one. From a public relations standpoint, she understands that you cannot win a war fought on emotion by feeling more strongly. You win it by mapping the terrain. She positions the family the way a strategist positions an army. King Charles III holds the present. His task is stability, the daily work of keeping the institutions standing while the storms pass over it. He is not built to fight the future war. He is built to survive the present one, and Anne does not ask him to be more than that. William, Prince of Wales, is the future correction layer. Whatever damage is done now, it falls to him to repair later, to carry the family's story forward and slowly rewrite the parts that were distorted. Anne sees the roles clearly. Charles defends today, William redeems tomorrow. And she, the Princess Royal, occupies the only role no one assigned her and no one can take away. She reads the board. A briefing reaches her late in the day, circulated to only a handful of people. The language is careful, almost clinical, and one phrase in it stops her cold. It warns of legacy echo instability risk. Stripped of its bureaucratic armor, the phrase means something simple and terrifying. The family's own history has become unstable. The echoes of the past are no longer fading. They are bouncing back louder each time, and no one has found a way to quiet them. Anne reads the phrase several times. She has spent her life inside an institution that drew its strength from continuity, from the comforting idea that the past steadied the present. The briefing describes the opposite, a past that destabilizes, a history that, instead of anchoring the family, has become the very thing pulling it off balance. She sets the document down and thinks about every move that has led here, the recordings that were never confirmed, the silence that was read as guilt, the photograph that needed no scandal to become one, the simulation that kept returning the same name, and finally the woman with no title who became the loudest voice on the board. None of it required a real secret. None of it required a single proven fact. That is the conclusion Anne reaches, alone, in a quiet room as the light fades. The problem was never the recordings. There may not even be any recordings. The problem is repetition, the endless looping of the same Diana framing, played again and again until the public can no longer tell memory from news, grief from fact, the past from the present. The danger is not a secret waiting to be exposed. The danger is a pattern that refuses to stop repeating. And as Anne stares at the briefing in the dimming room, a final question forms, the one that will decide everything. If the loop cannot be broken, then the only thing left to discover is who has been pressing play. Anne stops looking at people entirely. She sets aside the names, the faces, the rivalries, and looks instead at the thing they all live inside, the system.
Always kind of be a stain on King Charles's past. We know that marriage was tumultuous. Often, the media tends to kind of whitewash a lot of the tenuous moments in their marriage, so we know that Diana was very unhappy.
Because the truth she has been circling for days is not about any single person at all. It is about how the whole institution now behaves, and what she sees changes the shape of everything. The monarchy, she understands at last, is no longer just a family or even an institution. It is a narrative ecosystem, a living environment where stories feed on attention, where emotion moves like weather, and where every figure inside it is less a person than a position on a vast shifting map. The conflict was never Camilla against Diana. It was never Laura against the palace. It was the system reacting to itself, again and again, faster than anyone could steer it. Royal biographers have long debated whether the modern monarchy controls its own image or merely survives it. Anne now believes the answer is neither. The institution does not control the story, and it does not simply endure it. It lives inside it, breathes it, and reacts to it in real time, which means the story controls the institution far more than the institution controls the story. At the center of that ecosystem sits Diana, Princess of Wales. Not as a person anymore, but as a permanent reference point in the global imagination. Decades after her death, she remains the emotional true north every other royal story is measured against. The public does not choose to reach for her. They reach for her by instinct, and that instinct is the single most powerful force in the entire system, which forces a brutal reframing of Camilla's place. For years, the story was Camilla as rival, the woman who came between. Anne sees now that this was always wrong. Camilla is not Diana's rival. She is Diana's permanent comparison target, the figure the public will measure against that memory forever, not out of malice, but out of habit. It is a position no amount of duty or time can fully escape, because it was never about Camilla at all. It was about the public's refusal to let go. According to reports circulating in the British press, analysts who study the institution have begun to notice something that should unsettle anyone who cares about it. The monarchy now reacts faster to shifts in perception than to actual matters of policy or duty. A change in public mood triggers a response within hours. A genuine question of governance can sit unanswered for weeks. The priorities have quietly reversed, and almost no one inside the building has admitted it out loud. Anne has admitted it to herself. That is the difference between her and everyone else on the board. She does not pretend the old rules still apply. She does not comfort herself with the idea that dignity and patience will outlast the noise. She has watched the noise become the main event, and she knows that a family which reacts to feeling faster than to fact has already surrendered something it may never get back. She closes the last of the documents. There is no clean resolution here, no villain to expose, no secret to bury. There is only the system, vast and self-feeding, and a single woman who has finally seen its true shape. And as Anne sits in the quiet, one realization remains, sharper than all the others. She has not been investigating a scandal. She has been mapping the gravity of a ghost. The only thing left to understand is what that means for the family that still has to live beneath it. Anne places the final document face down on the table and does not pick it up again. The investigation is over, not because it was solved, but because she finally understands there was nothing to solve in the way everyone assumed. No hidden recording will surface. No secret will break. The threat was never an event. It was an interpretation, and interpretations cannot be arrested, denied, or buried. She sees the board at rest now, every piece in its final position. The monarchy is stable in its structure. The crown is secure, the line of succession clear, the institution standing exactly where it has stood for generations. And yet it is unstable in its story, vulnerable in the one place no constitution can protect, the place where the public decides what to feel. Structurally sound, narratively exposed. That is the paradox Anne has spent these days learning to name. Anne understands her own role at last, and it is not the one anyone would have written for her. She is not uncovering secrets. She has uncovered nothing, because there was nothing of that kind to find. What she has done is rarer and more important. She has mapped the perception gravity of an entire institution, traced the invisible forces that pull every royal story toward the same emotional center. She is not a detective. She is a cartographer of feeling. William, Prince of Wales, stands as the family's controlled modernization, the figure who must carry the institution forward without letting it harden into the past or dissolve into the noise of the present. Beside him, Catherine, Princess of Wales, holds the emotional legitimacy the family cannot manufacture and cannot afford to lose, the quiet trust that no strategy can buy. And Queen Camilla represents the historical reconciliation that was never fully completed, the tension between the woman Charles chose and the woman the public never released. At the center of it all, still, is Diana, Princess of Wales. Anne returns to the image that has guided her thinking from the start, the one that finally makes sense of everything. Diana is the central piece that is no longer on the board, yet still controls how every other piece is allowed to move. Gone, and more powerful for being gone, silent, and louder than anyone living. The institution moves around her absence the way planets move around a star they can no longer see, and Laura Lopes, the private woman who never asked to be on the board at all, returns to the truth Anne understood from the beginning. The weakest square is often the person who never chose to play. Laura held no title, no role, no power. That is precisely why she became useful to those who wanted to reopen an old wound. The most exposed figure was never the most important one. She was simply the one standing closest to the fault line. The palace does not lose control through events. Anne knows this now with a certainty that will not leave her. It loses control through interpretation, through the slow, relentless rewriting of meaning by a public that feels faster than it thinks. The danger was never the recording. The danger was the story the recording let people tell themselves. And that is where Anne leaves the board, every piece in place, the game neither won nor lost, only understood. Because the next move belongs to no single player. It belongs to perception itself, and perception is the one opponent the monarchy has never learned to beat. If this story held you, if it made you see the most watched family in the world a little differently, then this is exactly the kind of story this channel was built for. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one, because the stories still coming are even deeper than this. And tell me down in the comments, do you believe a family can ever truly escape its own past? Or does the past always find a way to rule the present? Share your thoughts, because somewhere in those comments is someone who needs to read exactly what you have to say.